everybody, today we're starting a conversation about something we all want, happiness, and we're calling this series The Happy Days. We all want to be happy, right? We all want to have fun, we all desire great experiences. It's why we play sports, play music, join theater, go to the parks, go to the movies, go on road trips, share funny reels, on and on and on it goes. Deep down, we all really want to be happy. Have you ever been to a theme park or a water park? I don't know about you, but whenever I'm at a theme or water park, I'm happy. Mostly. It's a lot of fun, but not always. In fact, there are a lot of reasons not to be happy in the happiest place on earth. I don't feel happy standing in a roller coaster line for 2 hours in the scorching summer heat, or when my favorite ride shuts down or it starts to rain. I don't always feel happy when I have to do the little kid rides, which you might understand if you have a younger sibling. No matter how happy you feel at a place when you're doing something you really enjoy, you don't always feel happy. Let's be real, as much as we want to be happy, being happy all the time simply isn't possible. Feeling happy is an emotion, right? For most of us, it's probably one of our favorite emotions, but when you look at all the emotions out there, things can start to get pretty complex. Unlike happiness, there are a lot of emotions out there that we don't like. And most of the time, we try to rush past the feelings that we don't like. We might label some emotions as bad, thinking we should not feel them. We try to push aside our emotions or ignore them. Emotions like sadness, anger, and fear may be a few of the emotions we try to ignore, hoping that they will disappear. But life is full of feelings, and we can't just brush them aside. Every emotion we experience, whether we label it as positive or negative, plays a crucial role in our lives. Ignoring these feelings doesn't make them just go away, it just buries them deeper, where they can intensify and create more confusion in the long run. No matter how hard we try to ignore our emotions, eventually they will come out. Part of the problem is that we live in a society that glorifies happiness. Social media is filled with highlight reels, images of people having the time of their lives, always smiling and upbeat. So it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that any other emotion is a sign of weakness or failure. We might feel pressure to fake happiness, even when we're struggling. This constant pursuit of happiness can make us feel isolated when we do experience sadness, anger, or fear, which are all normal emotions in life. Maybe you've thought, my emotions don't matter. I just need to get over it. It's no big deal. I'm just not an emotional person. I should just ignore it. We tend to think that if we ignore our emotions, they'll just go away. It might seem like it works for a short time, but when we ignore our emotions, we tend to stuff them deeper into our hearts and minds. They're still there, just hiding somewhere deep inside. Have you ever thought, I'm probably the only one who feels like this? Or, all my friends seem to be so happy. Sometimes we can feel isolated because we give our emotions too much weight when we label them as negative. We often associate negative emotions with negative experiences and believe we can avoid pain by avoiding these emotions. But the truth is, feelings are natural. They are signals that something important is happening in our lives and deserve acknowledgement and understanding. And also, life is full of feelings. Every day we encounter situations that bring up a wide range of emotions, from the joy of a new friendship to the grief of a loss. Our feelings are a response to the world around us. They tell us what matters to us and what we need and how we are connected to others. Ignoring these emotions doesn't help us to be happier or have more joy. Usually, it's the opposite. The point is, if ignoring our emotions doesn't work, how do we navigate complex feelings? How do we acknowledge our feelings without letting them control us? Today we're going to look at what some of the Bible's writers had to say about our emotions. We'll see that God understands our feelings and gives us the freedom to feel them all. In the most famous sermon Jesus ever gave, often called the Sermon on the Mount, he talks about what happiness looks like. One of his friends named Matthew wrote down his words, and that's what we're reading from today. Happy are those who mourn. God will comfort them. Wait, what? Happiness and mourning together? That's not how it works. Society says we have to be happy, and if you struggle, you can't be blessed. It sounds contradictory, but Jesus is onto something really important here. Now, before we go any further, it's important to note that when Jesus talks about happy, as it's used here in Matthew 5, it's not just an emotion. It's much more holistic, closer to meaning being complete or at peace. That's an important distinction for you and I to understand. God doesn't promise us happiness like we think of happiness. It's actually much better than that. And Jesus tells us here that feeling emotions like sadness, grief, and mourning are a part of that kind of happiness. Mourning and happiness can both exist. It's about being honest by acknowledging our feelings with God and ourselves. Jesus doesn't tell us to avoid sadness or to pretend it doesn't exist. Instead, he acknowledges that mourning and grief are a part of our journey. This pathway isn't about ignoring our difficult emotions, but moving through them knowing that God is with us always. One of the ancient followers of God was a king named David. He was known as a guy who really loved God and wrote a lot of his thoughts and prayers down. We have many of these in the book of the Bible that we call Psalms. This book is a collection of songs and poetry from ancient times. In Psalm 30, David shares his unfiltered emotions with God. I give you all the credit. God, you got me out of that mess. You didn't let my foes gloat. God, my God, I yelled for help and you put me together. God, you pulled me out of the grave, gave me another chance at life when I was down and out. All you saints, sing your hearts out to God. Thank him to his face. He gets angry once in a while, but across a lifetime there is only love. The nights of crying your eyes out give way to days of laughter. When things were going great, I crowed. I've got it made. I'm God's favorite. He made me king of the mountain. Then you looked the other way and I fell to pieces. I called out to you, God. I laid my case before you. Can you sell me for a profit when I'm dead? Auction me off at a cemetery yard sale? When I'm dust to dust, my songs and stories of you won't sell. So listen and be kind. Help me out of this. You did it. You changed wild lament into whirling dance. You ripped off my black mourning band and decked me with wildflowers. I'm about to burst with song. I can't keep quiet about you. God, my God, I can't thank you enough. This entire psalm is full of highs and lows. David experienced immense joy, deep sorrow, and grief. Yet through it all, he was free to express his emotions. Known as a man after God's own heart, David showed us that it's okay to feel. His example means that you are free to feel too. Your feelings don't make you broken, they make you human. David's words remind us that feeling a wide range of emotions is natural. In fact, if there's anything you can be confident about because of the words of Jesus and David we've read today, it's that. You are free to feel. God gave us feelings. No feeling is too big or too messy for God. I want you to do something with me. This is a feelings wheel, which helps us identify the specific feelings and emotions you are experiencing at any given moment. The center of the feelings wheel shows our core emotions. Which do you currently feel right now? Pause and thank God for that emotion. Now follow that core emotion out to the middle ring and the secondary feelings listed there in the same color. Which do you currently feel right now? Pause and thank God for that emotion. Finally, move outward to the final ring in the same color. Which do you currently feel? Pause and thank God for that emotion too. David praised God in his joy and cried out to God in his despair. He didn't hide his feelings or pretend they didn't exist. Instead, he brought them to God, trusting that God would understand and help him through them. This honesty with God and with ourselves is crucial for our emotional health and can help us feel more connected to God. David's example also shows us that our emotions are temporary. Emotions are not permanent. This means that even our most intense feelings of sadness or anger will eventually pass. When you're feeling some big feelings, remind yourself that you won't always feel this way. No matter what emotions we feel, know that God is there with you. God can handle your emotions, the joy and the sorrow, the happiness and the sadness. So as we start this series all about feelings, here are a few ways you can do that this week. Number 1, feel where you are. Notice your emotions and what your body is telling you. Are you finding yourself crying more often than normal? Are you pacing? Is your heart beating faster in certain situations? You know yourself better than anyone, so pay attention to what is happening in your body as you experience new or different emotions. Number 2, feel what you feel. Take a moment right now to think, how are you feeling? Are you carrying any sadness, anger, or fear? Are you feeling joy, excitement, or peace? Are you anxious about anything? Whatever it is, acknowledge it. You don't have to fix it or change it, just recognize it and allow yourself to feel it. It may help to acknowledge your emotions by talking to a trusted adult or a friend, or journaling how you're feeling. Number 3, be here for it. Processing emotion looks very different for everyone, but the important part is to process them in a healthy way. Just like it is to acknowledge them in a healthy way, some people process their emotions through music, dance, nature, sports, all kinds of different things. The important part is to do it in a way that is healthy for you. If you or someone you know is not processing their emotions in a healthy way, reach out to a trusted adult. It's good to practice being honest about your emotions. When you're happy, share that joy with others. When you're sad, don't be afraid to show your tears. When you're angry, find healthy ways to express that anger. And when you're afraid, reach out for support. Talk to God about your feelings and talk to someone you trust. Let them know what you're going through. Journaling can be a great way to practice noticing, acknowledging, and processing your emotions. Don't rush past your emotions. Instead, acknowledge them and know that it's okay to experience a full range of emotions. When you're happy, let yourself be happy. When you're sad, allow yourself to be sad. Remember, you are not alone in your feelings. God is with you and understands. God created you with the capacity to feel deeply and welcomes all of your emotions. Just as David cried out to God in his distress, you can cry out to God with whatever you're feeling. God hears you and God cares. As we wrap up, remember this: you are free to feel. Happiness, sadness, anger, joy, every emotion is natural. Embrace them all and know that God is with you through every single one. By embracing our emotions, we can live more complete, authentic lives. We can connect more deeply with others and with God. We can find comfort in knowing that our feelings are valid and that we are not alone in them. When you head to groups, think about this question: how often do you pay attention to the way you're feeling?